Not long ago, Alan Gray was up and we were mucking around in the shed playing with the suspension on the red truck. Here's what we did.
What we've done with the vehicle, we've jacked it up until all the weight of the chassis has been taken on some stands at the back, so as the wheels are just off the ground. So if you're going to fit springs at home, you would make absolutely sure not put them up on bricks or blocks or whatever else. Chop the wheels, jack it up and put it on some decent solid stands, so as the weight of the vehicle's taken on the stands, and it's very stable. Ruthie's down the back here kicking up a lot of noise. He's pretty hopeless this morning, but he'll come good during the day. Have a look at him. See, this is early in the morning. Imagine what it's going to be like later on.
Hard day on the darts. I'll be right, Alan.
Darts is right on about darts. Darts don't come in glass. So what we're going to do, he's under there doing some work at last. He's undone the U-bolts and we're undoing the shackles, and we'll drop the springs out in a moment. I've left the shock absorbers connected just to steady the whole thing, and we'll put these springs in there. Oh, look, he's got one out.
I don't got the spring out.
It's not out. It's probably one you got from under the bench. Okay, so we'll check a couple of things. We'll make sure that where the centre bolts go is not elongated on the differential. That sometimes happens, and just make sure that they're nice round hole. Sometimes you've got to put a plate on there or weld them up, but not very often. And they locate the whole thing. It actually drives forward, braking and all that's taken virtually on that little centre bolt. But the U-bolts clamp down and help it, of course, but that locates everything.
That's it, isn't it? That bolt.
That's it. Yeah, that's it there. Also, you may notice that the spring is shorter to the fixed shackle, to the centre bolt, than what it is to the swinging shackle. And that's because as you compress this, that distance there alters. And the less it alters, obviously, the better, because then the axle's held in alignment far more than if it was in the centre. So always, as a rule, from the fixed shackle to the centre bolt is a shorter distance, and if you're in any doubt, that's the way it should go. Short distance to the fixed shackle.
Yeah, right, well, I'll do this side then, eh?
Let's get going.
Any bush anywhere, they're all the same?
Yeah. These rear single fixed shackles never give any trouble. This particular one's got grease nipples in it, and that'll just slide straight in. One interesting point about where we drill the hole there for the grease is not in the centre, and that's because it's a bit stronger to have it to one side, and it's got a slot there to distribute the grease. Yeah, these are safety shackles. There's a tendency for the spring, if it goes over a bump and it goes right up in the air, there's a tendency for this shackle that could turn up inside and lock solid. So they have an extra bolt through there that hits on the chassis and prevents that happening. So they're safety shackles, and good idea. Now, what we've done now is jack the spring up a little bit, so as the wheel's off the ground, and that means the centre bolt is now ready to drop into the hole if it's indexed properly. That's not a bad word, is it, indexed?
Indexed.
Yeah, and I generally...
Index means the bolt's got to be near the hole.
I need to blow in there to get rid of any dirt that's in there. So can you jump in there and blow, just careful it doesn't melt things.
There we go. You ready?
Oh, right.
Sorry, mate.
Oh, that's perfect. Now don't get them covered in dirt after I've greased it. Give us that U-bolt, can you?
I've already...
Yeah, just make sure when you're tightening the U-bolts that you actually watch that they are nicely parallel to the axle, so as they tighten up and stay tight.
So they're not out like this?
Not out like that. In close, pretty close. And we recheck the U-bolts after 1,000 Ks because there's a bit of movement. There's paint between the spring leaves, and they'll just perhaps need a check with a spanner. These rely on interleaf friction, and it doesn't pay to lubricate between the spring leaves to make them ride better. That's not a good idea. People say it'll break the spring leaves. What it does is allow them to collapse more than they should. They rely on that interleaf friction as actually a partial shock absorber, and people would say that's why they ride rough, but they'll gradually come good. Sometimes they make a clicking noise because the steering pushes across this way. When you get across to one side, the spring leads hang together and all of a sudden they just let go and click a bit. It's sometimes because these little rebound clips have come loose and you can actually squeeze them up a little bit. But you'll notice the clicking noises sometimes sounds pretty dramatic, but it's actually just the leaves just sliding sideways under strain.
You know, this really is so easy you can do it at home. But invite your neighbour over for a couple of beers when he decides to do it, eh?
Not Alan.
Get him under the truck.
Yeah. Yeah. Hit it with a hammer, don't you?
Oh, I know.
No,
What, use the impact wrench? What if I have to undo them somewhere?
don't hit your hand. That's bad for you. No,
You wouldn't...
for safety. Don't hit things with your hand.
Oh.
You've got hammers to do that with. Don't use your hand.
Don't use your hand, I know.
And it'll just slip.
Ow.
Jet of air
Oh, get him in.
behind you.